Welcome in, Bills Mafia. Welcome back to another edition of the Go Bills podcast presented by GoBillsPodcast.com. And today we have our New York Giants and Buffalo Bills preview today that we are going to be doing. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. You can find us on 6 different platforms, including YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, which are the most ones that we use right now. And also, if you're watching on the channel, don't forget to go into the comments section, drop your comments and any questions that you might have throughout the show as well. But today we're going to get into the game preview, and we're going to start with the New York Giants, who are very injured. But before we do that, I do want to have a couple of pointers that are important to the channel. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but we do have a new logo that we have for our channel. If you can let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the new logo, we would greatly appreciate it. As well as if you're watching and you can also comment, just let us know how we sound as well. Sometimes we have some technical issues that come on, but if you can let us know how we sound as well, we would greatly appreciate that as well. But let's get into the Giants injury report. A ton of people are going to be out this week for the New York Giants, including Daniel Jones, who is out with an ankle injury, as well as left tackle Andrew Thomas, who has a hamstring injury, and center John Michael Schmitz out this week with a shoulder injury. Another offensive tackle out this week, Matt Pert, with a shoulder injury as well. And then outside linebacker Azeez Ujulari is out with an ankle injury as well. Ton of questionable people for the game as well. Running back Saquon Barkley is going to be questionable with an ankle injury, as well as Darren Waller, groin injury. Guard Shane Lemieux with a groin injury as well. Running back Gary Brightwell, ankle injury, as well as linebacker Micah McFadden, ankle injury. DJ Davidson, knee injury as well. And then Evan Neal's the next one with an ankle injury as well. So a ton of people injured for the New York Giants this week. And then we also have the Buffalo Bills. But real quick, I want to get into the comments section. We have Nickel City Mafia coming in saying that the sound is great, which I greatly appreciate. Mike, if you could also let me know, I did make an adjustment to the backdrop a little bit, trying to save on the backdrop. Just let me know how that looks, because we are back in our normal spot that we're doing the shows at. So let me know how it looks as well. I would greatly appreciate that too. But let's get into the Buffalo Bills and the injury report for the Buffalo Bills. I'll put it up for a couple seconds, let you guys look at it, and then we'll go over the injury report as well. But there is a ton of injuries for the Buffalo Bills this week, and a couple of notable ones. We do have Christian Benford, who is back to full practice this week with a shoulder injury. Deion Dawkins as well, personal, is back in full. A couple of guys that are going to be questionable this week. In Dane Jackson, who is going to be questionable with a foot injury. Dalton Kincaid in the concussion protocol, has not cleared the concussion protocol as well and is questionable for the game. Dawson Knox, wrist injury, questionable as well. And then Shaq Lawson, Greg Rousseau, and Balin Spector all trending in the right direction. Spector could get called up for the game this week. We could see that happen later on this week, but that's to be determined later on in the week. Sean McDermott has not ruled anybody out for the game, including Dalton Kincaid, so we'll see where that leads to later on in the week. We still have a few more days before the Bills have to get their roster in and their inactives in, so we'll see what happens with Dalton Kincaid. But let's get into this, and let's get into the matchup between the New York Giants and the Buffalo Bills. And it's kind of a tale of two teams right now, between the New York Giants, who are kind of falling apart right now, and the Buffalo Bills, who had a loss last week to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both teams actually lost last week. The New York Giants lost to the Miami Dolphins in a game where Tyreek Hill had over 180 yards in that game. And then the Buffalo Bills losing in London, having some jet lag a little bit before the game, and a lot of injuries as well, losing a couple of defenders in Matt Milano and Daquan Jones, who were both placed on the injured reserve list, and we will see whether they're going to be out for the whole season or not, but that's to be determined later on in the year. But Sean McDermott has not ruled either one of them out. Now, a ton of injuries throughout the game. That's one thing that we have to look into for both teams, which is going to be something that you have to point out to. But a ton of people are going to have to step up, not only for the Buffalo Bills, but for the New York Giants as well. For the Buffalo Bills, you're going to have to see guys like Jordan Phillips, Poona Ford, as well as Tim Settle step up and play into a role that they're not usually comfortable with, being as they're going to have to be the one text this week for the game against the New York Giants. Other guys that are going to have to step up this week include guys like AJ Klein, who was activated to the roster this week, as well as a few others in Dorian Williams and Balin Spector as well. And whoever is going to be the linebacker next to Terrell Bernard is going to have to step up this week and really show up. And you saw last week, it was a pretty good game from Dorian Williams. Really liked what I saw from him. But he was taken out of the game later in the game and replaced later in the game with Tyrell Dodson as well. So it is to be determined whether Dorian Williams even starts in this game or if Tyrell Dodson plays in this game. And we'll see what happens there. But a couple of good things that we saw from Dorian Williams, and we shouldn't take Dorian into being a bad player or anything, but he had some great pass breakups in the game, and he also looked pretty good as well. But it's to be determined who's going to be the outside linebacker next to Terrell Bernard. As far as the Bills and this matchup with the New York Giants, is going to be a tough one, especially if Saquon Barkley plays in this game, and we have to see whether that's going to happen. But this is a game where the Bills can get it right, and this is a game, just like John Roberts saying right here in the comments, Giants O-line is a mess. Hopefully multiple sacks for the Buffalo Bills. Exactly right. This is a game where the Buffalo Bills can figure out how to get to the quarterback and really should have a sack day and a feast against the New York Giants. Their offensive line is struggling right now, and the Bills are going to gain Greg Rousseau, Von Miller coming off of another week of being on the field. So he should get more comfortable as the week goes on. This should be a game where the Bills have a lot of sacks in this game, and they should be able to get to the quarterback quite a bit and put pressure on the new quarterback that's going to be coming in, who is more of a mobile quarterback this week, which is something that is going to be harder to get him on the ground, in a guy that we are all familiar with and led the Bills to the playoffs after the drought in Tyrod Taylor. So let's talk about Tyrod Taylor and talk about his career a little bit. Kind of a journeyman, starting off his career with the Ravens and then coming over to the Buffalo Bills, having a few great years for the Buffalo Bills, and really being that quarterback that was the first mobile quarterback that the Bills had in a long time. And he came in, did a lot of great things for the Buffalo. Ultimately, it just became time where the Bills should move on from him. They ended up trading him to Cleveland, and he ended up going from Cleveland and bouncing around the league a little bit until he found a home with the Giants. And now he's with the Giants, ready to make another start for his career. And I can't say enough about Tyrod Taylor and how much respect I have for him and what he's done for the city of Buffalo. Really appreciate him. And it's going to be a fun day to see Tyrod go up against this Buffalo Bills team that he's so familiar with and has a lot of friends on as well. So it'll be interesting to see. But I look back to the days of Tyrod Taylor and a few years ago being with the Buffalo Bills, and I have his autograph sitting right up here in my wall of footballs and everything, and it's great to see that Tyrod's going to be playing against the Buffalo Bills, so I'm looking forward to that this week. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a game where the Bills are going to have to be smart, and they're going to have to worry about Tyrod's legs in this game, which is something that he did a lot of when he was with the Buffalo Bills. So you're going to have to worry about his legs as well. Let's get into the comments real quick on Facebook from John Robert. He said, who do you think will play next to Oliver? And I think it's going to be a combination of guys moving around, but I do think it's going to be guys like Poona Ford and even Jordan Phillips that are going to be mixing in and playing in that position. But if you look at Jordan Phillips as well as Tim Settle, those are two guys that are more familiar with the 3 technique. They're going to have to play in the 1 technique in this situation. But I believe the reason why Buffalo moved and grabbed Poona Ford is because he's more of a 1 technique type of defensive tackle who takes on double teams in the middle of the field. And that's somebody that you're going to need out there for the Buffalo Bills this week. Somebody that can put bodies on him and then free up guys like Ed Oliver, as well as free up the outside for Greg Rousseau and AJ Epinesa, as well as Von Miller out there on the field. Now, the Bills are getting healthier on the defensive line. You're going to have guys like Shaq Lawson out there as well. And it shouldn't be a game where AJ Epinesa is going to have to need oxygen on the sidelines from being out there on the field so much. So it'll be great to see that we're going to be able to move and mix and match our defensive line more this week, which is a great sign. But the Bills are going to be without the key pass rusher this week in Daquan Jones and probably throughout the whole entire year this year. So they won't see Daquan Jones out there right now, who was having a great season, probably his best season of his career, with the number 1 passer or pressure rate in the NFL as well. So it'll stink that we won't see him out there on the field, but then it's the next man up mentality, and we have to make sure that we're stepping up and playing great football for the Buffalo Bills. So it'll be interesting to see who that next guy is, but I do think it's going to be Poona Ford that steps up for the Buffalo Bills. This passing attack for the New York Giants is not doing too good this year. They do have a couple of weapons, one that we should be familiar with in Isaiah Hodgins, who came from the Buffalo Bills, was drafted by the Buffalo Bills, ended up moving to the New York Giants after getting cut by the Bills. And it ended up being where the Bills wanted to keep a guy that they're familiar with and Jake Kumaro over the Isaiah Hodgins, and they didn't want to put him on the roster. So he ended up going to the New York Giants, having a good year last year, and now playing again for the New York Giants this year. Not really doing anything major this year. Receivers are not really stepping up that much this year. But the biggest thing that I take into effect for the reason why the receivers haven't stepped up is because of the offensive line of the New York Giants, who are giving up 30 sacks already this year and could break the record for most sacks given up in a season for a offensive line. Now, the Bills on offense are going to have to go up against a few guys that you're not going to really be familiar with on the cornerback position. And this is going to be a game where I think that a lot of the players are going to step up, including Gabe Davis as well as Stephon Diggs. It's going to be a great game for them. Look at last week and what the Miami Dolphins did against the New York Giants. And this should be a game where Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis are able to take the top off of the defense and really step up and have a good game. So I'm looking for that and similar numbers to what we saw from Tyreek Hill last week for the Buffalo Bills. John Robert on Facebook says that rumor is Elam will play this week because Johnson is hurt, and I have heard that quite a bit, and I think he means that Jackson is hurt, which is who he meant. Taron Johnson will play this week, not on the injury report, and should play this week. So it'll definitely be Elam that's going to play out there as well, with Dane Jackson being out there off the field. But you should see a mixture of Jamarcus Ingram come onto the field, and don't be surprised if Jamarcus Ingram, the cornerback from Buffalo, makes the 53-man roster as well. There is a shot that he could get called up and elevated to the 53-man roster, be on the roster as well. So that'll be a great thing to see if it does happen as well. Let's go back to the New York Giants on offense and talk about the player that we have to stop and the keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills. And number one key to the game for me is going to be if he's out there stopping Saquon Barkley. If you look at what the Bills have done over the last few weeks, the Bills are giving up an enormous 5.7 yards per carry this season to running backs. And that's a number that the Bills have to be alarmed by. And they have to make sure that they're stopping the run game and really making this game come down to Tyrod Taylor beating the Bills in this game. They're going to have to do a great job of stopping the Bills or stopping the Giants and stopping Saquon Barkley. When you stop Saquon Barkley, the other running backs around him have not done a lot this year. So you got to make sure that the number one priority is stopping Saquon Barkley, not letting him get big breaks. You got to remember that he is a bigger running back that has enormous thighs as well, and he can break tackles pretty easily. So you've got to make sure that you're wrapping him up and getting him on the ground. You can't arm tackle against him. You can't also try and bring him down by his feet. You got to make sure that you're hitting him up high and really knocking him down to the ground. So you got to make sure that you're doing a good job of that as well. And then for the Buffalo Bills, it really comes down to just playing fundamentally sound football. A lot of the things that I'm seeing from the Buffalo Bills this week that they need to correct are easy things that they can correct, just like the penalties that we saw last week, 11 penalties, which is an enormous amount of penalties that we saw, and they need to correct that number as well. You can't give up a lot of penalties against this team, and you got to be fundamentally sound and stay within yourself against the New York Giants and play to your highest points. That's the biggest thing. I look at this game, and this is a team that the Bills should easily beat. But the one thing that worries me about the Bills is sometimes when it comes down to playing against teams that are not the best in the league, the Bills kind of struggle against them. So this should be a game where the Bills come out and they blow the top off of the New York Giants and send them back to Jersey, where they belong, and really take this team and show that they can beat the worst teams in the NFL by a lot of points. But this is a game that I'm also worried about with the Buffalo Bills because of what they did last week and the injuries that they have, this could be a closer game than we think. And it's any given Sunday out there as well. But the Bills really need to step up as far as the offense. They really need to find ways to get their playmakers open and get the ball down the field and put points on the board. Now, they've done a pretty good job of that, of converting on third down as well as getting the ball down the field. But I want to see consistently them getting the ball down the field to their playmakers as well and making an impact out there on the field. The next man that's got to step up next to Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and if he plays Dalton Kincaid, you got to get them into the mix. And I think that this is a great game where you can get guys like Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox involved in the game and really figure out what you want to do and what type of offense you want to run as well. Another key to the game is going to be the offense and making sure that the run game will get involved as well. And John Robert just beat me to it, saying that the run game will be important as well. And I completely agree about that. We got to get the run game involved against a defense that's kind of depleted right now. And this should be a game where we see guys like James Cook and Latavius Murray, as well as Damian Harris, really getting a lot of carries in this game, especially with the Bills being up by a lot of points. You got to find a way to get the run game involved and really set the tone for what type of team that you want to run. So I want to see the Bills, as far as their offense, be very smart and be very good about working in the trenches and setting up the trenches on both sides of the ball, not only the offense but the defense. But I want to see them get the sorry, real quick. I was reading this comment because it came in capital letters. Jake is saying Western New York, Brett, not upstate New York. Haha, I love you. No, Jake, what I was saying is, as far as the Bills, I want to see them send the New York Giants back to New Jersey. So I want to see that happen as well. And the reason why I'm saying send them back to New Jersey is because the Giants belong in New Jersey, not in New York, because there's only one football team that plays in New York, and that's the most important team. So that's why the title of this video is The New York Giants Travel to the Real New York Team to take on the Buffalo Bills, and that's one thing that I think is important. Let's also get to the comment from John Robert, who says that, yeah, too many penalties as well. Jake Podger says, absolutely, I was referring to your title of the streaming. So I really do agree with that. Yeah. So the title is The New York Giants Travel to the Real New York Team to take on the Buffalo Bills. I couldn't make it the whole thing because of the way that StreamYard is, and they don't allow a certain number of characters, so you can't make it a long title. You can't go over 100 characters. So I wanted to title this as traveling to the real New York team to take on the Buffalo Bills. But I would have titled it to take the real upstate New York team to take on the Buffalo Bills, which is important though. But they are the real New York team. There's only one team that plays in New York. Remember that, guys. But let's get back into it and talk about this team and what we get to see with the Buffalo Bills. Jake Podger is also saying, can't wait to see you in Buffalo in person. Wings and beers on me. Man, wings and beers are not going to be on you, buddy. We're going to have a fun time, and we're going to have wings, beer, whatever you want, man. It's going to be a fun time as well. But also want to give a shout out to Jake again, who's saying, great to see John on here as well. Got to say, really do appreciate John Robert, who is on every single show that we have between the Nickel City Mafia, Red, White, and Bills, Go Bills podcast, any other shows that we have. He's been on the show as well. True fan of for the channels, and we really do appreciate you, man. So I want to give a shout out to him as well. But let's get into one more key to the game for the Buffalo Bills, which is going. I apologize, everyone. I did accidentally hit the button on here, so let me get my audio back up. Accidentally hit a button that I shouldn't have hit, so I do apologize about that. And I want to get back into the comments section real quick. But I want to get into one thing before we move on from the keys to the game. And the biggest key to the game for me in this game is the Bills staying healthy, which is something that I really want to see from the Buffalo Bills. Stay healthy, no injuries, no major issues for the Buffalo Bills. And let's get out of this game healthy. Let's get some players back as well, which is going to be important as well. And we will make it a fun time. Now, I want to give a fun fact that Jake Podger is saying the Giants are undefeated in New York State since 1993. Crazy stat I just read, which is crazy, but this is going to be the first loss that they get. Jake Podger said blue cheese as well. We got to have blue cheese with the wings. Always important in Buffalo. He said he's going to change that quick as well. I did mention something, but John Roberts said that he also thought that we lost me. Jake Podger saying staying healthy. Amen, brother. 3 guys questionable thus far, which is very important, as well as absolutely John blue cheese only. And I completely agree with that. We do have to have blue cheese. It seems like something's different between the blue cheese in Florida versus the blue cheese in New York. And I do want to get some of that blue cheese that Jake's been talking about. I'm going to get the name wrong. I always forget it, but I think it's Roni's blue cheese. So I got to get that blue cheese as well. Take some home to me and bring it back to Florida. But it just seems like the blue cheese down here is not the same. It's always kind of different. Doesn't taste right. Doesn't taste the same as when you go to Buffalo. But when you go to Buffalo, you got to have blue cheese. I am a ranch person, and I will admit it when I'm down in Florida. I do have some I have buttermilk ranch that I put on my wings. Now, guys, I understand Bills Mafia. You're going to hate me for saying that, and I probably am going to lose some subscribers because of that. And I can see the number of people that are watching right now. They have dropped out just because of that comment. A couple of people have dropped out, so bear with me when I say that. But when I'm down in Florida, it's blue cheese all day because it doesn't taste the same as being in New York. But when I get to New York, it is blue cheese all day. You got to have blue cheese with those wings, or else people are going to make fun of you. That's the biggest thing. And when you go into a restaurant, I've had it happen multiple times where you try and order ranch. It hasn't happened to me, but other people have tried to order ranch. People look at you different, and it's just crazy to see as well. But let's get into the score predictions for the game, and I want to get up into the score predictions. And John Roberts said bring back some wings as well, and I completely agree. The wings down here in Florida suck. But let's get into the score predictions for the game, and I do have the Bills winning this game think it's going to be an easy one. Guys, also drop your comments in the comment sections for score predictions for the game. Got the Bills winning in this one by quite a bit, 48-3 in this game. I think it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a fun game. You also have to remember Kelly Clarkson waiting all day for Sunday night. It's going to be big, and the Bills get a few extra hours to be able to play on Sunday Night Football, and I cannot wait for this game. Night game in Buffalo in Orchard Park, and I cannot wait for the atmosphere and how loud it's going to be, and I hope and pray that Jake Podger, who lives miles away from the stadium, gets to hear it again this week. Hear the noise that you hear from the Buffalo Bills, and I can't wait to see and experience this as well. But don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, as well as Threads, and on our website, gobillspodcast.com. Click on over to the website where you can find all of our upcoming shows that we will be doing throughout the week. Also, don't forget that tomorrow we have our show with Sean Kula on the Nickel City Mafia's platform. That will be at 8:30 p.m. on not only Facebook, but on YouTube. So, John Robert, I expect to see you on there, man. Cannot wait to see you there as well. 8:30 p.m. on Nickel City Mafia's YouTube and Facebook channels, as well as we will have more shows from the Go Bills podcast later on in the week. Our pregame show, halftime show, and postgame show Sunday for the Bills game against the New York Giants. And then we'll also have a new week of shows coming out next week for Patriots Week, which is going to be another great week for the Buffalo Bills, starting with Overreaction Monday, as well as the AFC East Summit show that will be on the Nickel City Mafia's YouTube and Facebook channels. So it's going to be a great week of podcasts this week. Click on over. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Go Bills podcast, Nickel City Mafia, Red, White, and Bills channels as well. And also don't forget how important it is to be a Bills fan and be loud and proud if you're going to the game. This has been Brett from the Go Bills podcast. We will see you next time for another edition of the Go Bills podcast. Until then, Go Bills.